Hi guys, Wise Prediction is here. As you know, we share football betting tips and predictions powered by artificial intelligence. Today we are going to go through a practical study and we'll try to answer the question of which team is expected to win the match between Liverpool and Manchester City if it were played today. So this is a fun study today, just enjoy it. This match is not going to be played today, it will actually be played on the 10th of November and today is the 14th of October, but this is still a fun study and it can also help you to understand in a better way how we are thinking around our predictions. So let's try to answer the question, which team was expected to win this match if it were played today? If we look at the Premier League table as of today, so we see that these two teams are sharing the first two places. Liverpool is leading the league and have 24 points as of today, and Manchester City has 16 points, 8 points behind Liverpool actually. And Liverpool have won the last 5 matches. They actually won all 8 matches this season so far, and Manchester City have won the 3 of past 5 matches so far. But it's obviously not enough to make a prediction just to look at the table itself. Let's have a look at some other statistics. While making our predictions, we actually look at a number of different parameters in our database, but we're not going to go through them one by one in great detail. It's not needed either. But we will just look at some interesting parameters from the database just to try to have an idea about which team can actually win the game if it were played today. And if we just look at the last 6 matches of these two teams, Liverpool have played against Arsenal, Burnley, Newcastle, Chelsea, Sheffield United and Leicester. And Manchester City have played against Bournemouth, Brighton, Norwich, Watford, Everton and Wolves. If I look at these tables, it's obviously a subjective thing, but I will say that Liverpool kind of had a bit tougher matches compared to Manchester City so far in the last 6 matches particularly, but it's a subjective thing, you know. And if we have a look at the number of shots that each team have done in each and every match, so it is kind of difficult to see a difference between them. The red bars here are representing the number of shots that Liverpool had in each match, and the blue ones are representing the Manchester City statistics. But the interesting fact here is that, especially in the last 3 matches, the number of shots that Manchester City had is kind of decreasing. It has a decreasing trend, right? And for Liverpool, in opposite, the trend is kind of increasing. The number of shots the Liverpool had in the last 3 matches is kind of increasing. It is interesting. It's not enough to say anything about, you know, which team is going to win the match, but this is just an interesting statistical information. But what about the number of shots on target? So again, there is not a huge difference. There's a huge difference actually in 1 week, and it is the 4th matches when Liverpool played against Chelsea and Manchester City, as being the home team, played against Watford. It was a fantastic match for Manchester City, obviously, and they had around 11 shots on target in that match, while Liverpool only had 3 on target against Chelsea. But again, in the big picture, as you see here, shots on target trend for Liverpool is kind of increasing here, and the trend has a kind of decreasing line here for Manchester City. Again, these two things are not enough to say anything concrete, but just, you know, interesting statistical data that we are looking at right now. Let's have a look at another statistical information, and let's just compare the number of goals those two teams have scored in the last 6 matches. If we just have a look at the number of goals the team scored in the first half of the last 6 matches, and for Liverpool, Liverpool scored at most 2 goals in the first half, and in 2 matches they only scored 1 goal, and in the match against Sheffield United they didn't score anything in the first half. For Manchester City, in 2 matches they scored 2 goals. In 1 match they scored 5 goals, and these 5 goals were actually scored in the first 20 minutes or something against Watford. In two other matches, they only had 1 goal, and in the last match, they didn't scored any goal in the first half. What about the number of full-time goals? Here we see that except the last match, Manchester City scored goals in all other matches. And Liverpool obviously scored goals in all these 6 matches, as they won all of them, so they have to score something. And at most they are scoring either 3 or 2 goals, and in one match Liverpool only had 1 goal scored. Interesting. And that match was actually against Sheffield United, and the Liverpool was the away team. Another interesting thing could be to look at the number of goals that the opponents have had in the last 6 matches, opponents of these two teams. So if we just have a look at the numbers, if we just look at the bars here, what you can see clearly is that it looks like it is kind of easier to score a goal against Manchester City than how it is against Liverpool. And the opponents of Liverpool could score at most 1 goal in each match against Liverpool. But for Manchester City, we can't really say the same thing. In 2 matches here, in 1 match, the opponent, which is Norwich here, scored 3 goals. In the last match, the Wolves, even if the Manchester City was the home team, Wolves managed to score 2 goals in that match. Very interesting. But obviously, those are just statistical information, and none of them is actually enough to say something about which team is expected to win the match. So finally, let's come to our predictions. Remember that this match is going to be played on the 10th of November, and today is the 14th of October. So our predictions are only valid as of today, based on the current performance situation of the teams. And numbers and prediction results can change when we come, when we get closer to the actual match date, which is 10th of November. Stay tuned and try to visit wiseprediction.com for our predictions prior to that match. But as of today, our prediction is that Liverpool is expected to win the match by 37%. With other words, the chance of Liverpool to win the match is 37%. And the chance of Manchester City to win the match is given as 29%, and the chance of a tie in this match is expected to be 34%. With other words, there is no clear favorite here, based on our prediction results. It is just because none of these probabilities here is significantly higher than the other probabilities. Obviously, Liverpool kind of is expected to win the match, but it's not really far away from 34% and even actually 29%. With other words, it's not, for example, the chance of Liverpool to win the match is not like 60% or 70% or something like that. It's only 37%. If you're a risk taker, maybe you can go for a 1x here. Either Liverpool will win the match or it's going to end with a tie, but there's no guarantee there. So this is our prediction as of today on the 14th of October. But what about the halftime match result predictions? So let's have a look at our numbers there as well. Even if in the full-time match result predictions, even if the Liverpool is expected to win the match with a slightly higher probability, what we expect to see at the end of the first half is a tie. The probability of tie is higher than the other probabilities, but again, that probability is not necessarily much more higher than the other probabilities here. So again, you can't really say that there's a clear favorite for the first half of this match either. Another thing, what about the number of goals that's going to be scored in this match? So if we look at our prediction results, what we see is that the probability of seeing at least 1 goal or more in this match is given as 86% based on the output of our models. With other words, we expect to see at least 1 goal in this match, and the probability of that is quite high, which is 86%. But in many cases, the profit of betting on a over 0.5 goal, it's maybe not that promising, or it's generally not that high. But what about 1.5? And the chance of seeing at least 2 goals or more in this match is given as 73% based on our models. So that probability is still high, and maybe it is a reasonable choice to go for over 1.5 goal in this particular match. What about 2.5 goals? Still, the probability of seeing at least 3 goals or more seems to be higher than the under 2.5 scenario there. But in this case, the probabilities are getting quite close to each other. In other words, here, for example, for over 1.5 and under 1.5, it is 27% versus 73%. There's a huge gap there, and with a high probability, we expect to see at least 2 goals or more in this match. But here, if we start talking about more than 2 goals in this match, probabilities are quite close to each other, 46% versus 54. The gap between them is not necessarily high. We can still end up seeing more than 2.5 goals, but the probability in advance is not really that promising. What about 3.5 goals? And the probability of seeing under 3.5 goals, or with other words, at most 3 goals in this match, is given as 67% as the output of our AI models. And our models think that the chance of seeing at least 4 goals or more in this particular match is not that high, and the chance of that is only 33%. If we look at all these scenarios here, it looks like the safest and probably the most profitable approach will be to go for over 1.5 goals. If we just talk about the safest and most profitable scenario here based on the prediction results. But again, none of these numbers is valid as of today. This match is going to be played on the 10th of November, and today is only the 14th of October. It's kind of too early to start predicting, but this is just a fun exercise that we wanted to share with you for this particular match. For the details, feel free to go to wiseprediction.com and become a member of us and join our community. We are growing every day. And also, if you like and appreciate our content here, feel free to like and subscribe to our channel. And also, you're welcome to comment your thoughts as well under our video here.